Move on to the Reds. They went 3-4 since we last spoke. They are now 55-59, last in the NL Central, and 9 games back of the first place Brewers. Skinny, the number that people keep throwing out, because last year 2 teams got into the playoffs with a wild card spot, only winning 84 games. So that's the number a lot of people have thrown out. If you can get to about 84 wins, maybe you'll have a chance. The Reds would need to go 29-19 the rest of the way to get to 84 wins. When you hear that, where are you at with this team? Is it now just time to watch Elly De La Cruz and Hunter Green and enjoy what you can?
Yeah, and Rick, I'll be honest with you. I'm based on the team's records that are in the wild card race right now. I think the Mets are the first team out, and I believe I'm doing this off the top of my head. I don't know if you have it handy. I think they're 59-54. I think something like that. I think all the teams in the wild card race are probably on pace for 87, 88 wins.
They are 60-54.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. I mean, I think you're going to have to win at least 87 games to get in. And then if you do the math on 87 games, that makes the Reds have to win 32 of their final whatever's left. I mean, it feels mathematically impossible.
Yeah, I mean, there was I was looking back to last year even to be like, okay, when they were hot last year, did they have a stretch like this that would be good enough? And they did. They had the stretch last year in June where they went 18-9 because they had a 12-game winning streak at one point. And then they went 15-11 in July. So they were 33-20 between those 2 months. They had a stretch of 29-10 baseball within that. So could they pull off a miraculous stretch to get them around 84, 85 wins? Yes, but one, they're showing no real signs of putting together that type of streak right now. And 2, it's the likelihood of them reeling off 12 wins in a row again is very unlikely, especially with this group. So Skinny, they have been able to make a little headway here playing against the Marlins for the last few days, who are just an abomination of a Major League Baseball team. I wanted to play a quick game with you. How confident are you in that you could name the Marlins roster right now, guys on the Marlins roster?
Not at all. Not now that Jazz Chisholm's gone and those guys. I looked at their roster the other day and none of the names resonated. I was just looking at when they had their lineup, and then, some of those box scores on ESPN or CBS Sports Web, their average, their on-base percentage, their OPS. And I went right down one of those the day I went, God, they're awful.
Would you rather me give you the name or the position and you try to match it?
Give me a name and I'll try to get the position.
Okay, Xavier Edwards.
Xavier feels like a shortstop to me.
Nailed it.
Right.
Batting leadoff, playing short.
All right.
Jake Berger, you probably know him.
He's a first baseman, maybe?
DH, right? DH mostly right now, but yeah. Jonah Bride.
Jonah sounds like a right field. He's stick him out in right field.
He's the first baseman.
Okay.
What about Jesus Sanchez?
Old man Sanchez's kid plays third.
That's the right fielder. What about Otto Lopez?
Otto Lopez has to catch. A guy named Otto has to catch.
He's the second baseman.
Damn.
Derek Hill.
Derek Hill has to catch.
He's the left fielder, but he could be literally anything, anyone, any team. Okay. Every team has a Derek Hill on the roster.
Yeah, they sure do.
Emmanuel Rivera.
That's the center fielder.
That's the third baseman.
Okay, close enough.
Christian Pash.
He catches.
That's the center fielder.
Well.
Elise Sanchez.
Well, Ellie has to catch.
He catches. That's right.
Yeah,
I mean, I only did that to you not to.
I've done that to a couple teams.
I didn't know a single guy. I didn't know one player.
So it's funny you say that. If you gave me rosters from 1975 and said, could you name the starting lineup for this team? I could do it. I can't do it today. And maybe it's because of free agency and whatnot. I can't do it for very many teams. I can do it for some. I can't do it for very many. I can't name probably 5 players off a lot of teams. And I'm serious. If you go to Baseball Reference right now, pick a 1975 team, I could probably come damn close to getting their starting lineup. I mean, I really could.
I'm the same way with a lot of teams today, and that I don't know as many players as I would expect to, or that I think I could. But Skinny, most of the teams, they've got 3 or 4 guys that are fairly household names, or at least bona fide major leaguers that that guy, I know his position. I know his story a little bit. I looked at this Marlins lineup the last few days, and honest to God, I couldn't name a single guy, couldn't tell you what position he played, have no idea where he came from. It's wild to see a team that looks like this.
The funny part is the White Sox are worse, and I could actually name White Sox players. And maybe it's because I've gone there perversely to keep looking at how bad they truly are. They did end their 21-game losing streak last night.
Excellent. I mean, what are we doing here? Skinny, Bristol Motor Speedway will host a game between the Atlanta Braves and the Cincinnati Reds next year on August 2nd, 2025. Does the Reds playing the Braves at Bristol Motor Speedway do anything for you?
think it's pretty cool. I don't think I'd want to go because the crowd would be too much, and trying to get out of that place would be a zoo. But looking at what the configuration is, I was talking to a guy yesterday who's familiar with auto racing and familiar with that track, and he actually pulled up a photo that I had not seen of what the configuration might look like. And they do have like this big like video board that would hang right over the field, and they're going to have to do something with that, I would assume. I can't imagine it's going to be in play. There's not going to be a lot of foul room line, but I do think it's cool. And I think they picked, if you're going to do it at that part, you got a lot of Reds country fans can drive there, and certainly a lot of Braves country fans that can drive there. And I think they'll pack the place.
So how, I mean, because the speedway is like a big oval, essentially,
Yep.
looking at the picture. Do they have it angled like you would expect, sort of like a football setup where they just kind of shove it into one of the end zones?
Yeah, they're shoving it. It looks like kind of at a cockeyed corner to where I don't think the dimensions in the left field will be very long. I really don't. I think it's got a chance to be a bandbox, but I do think it's going to be kind of cool.
I mean, I guess I kind of like whenever they do weird on-site events like this. I mean, when they do like the Navy ship game in college basketball they've done in the past, that's always been cool. So I do like some
hockey outside.
Yeah, and they've done the Field of Dreams game. Yep. So there are some different setups like that have made it fun. Those are usually pretty cool to watch. Just looking at it, trying to visualize it, I didn't see the picture you're talking about where they might have shown how it would be set up. Trying to visualize it myself, I was like, this doesn't seem like it would be made for a baseball.
And so I said this, and that's what I said to the person I was talking to, and they said, yeah, there's just enough room to squeeze it in. And he said, I did see a photo too, and that's when he showed it to me. I said, yeah, I was guessing there wouldn't be much foul territory. You know, they played obviously a football game there, Tennessee and Virginia Tech a couple years ago, and I could see that. I could see the football field.
Like, yeah. All right, skinny catcher Tucker Barnhart agreed to a minor league deal with the Reds. The team announced on Tuesday. The 33-year-old was released by the Arizona Diamondbacks last month, and we received a question on this as well. You got four options here. Tucker Barnhart's return to the Reds organization in the minor leagues is because, one, he's the manager in waiting to replace David Bell next season, much like David Ross. Two, the Reds are going to promote Rhett Lauder there, and Barnhart will be as Crash Davis. Three, the organization is very desperate for catching depth given the Austin Wynns injury. Or four, he needs less than a year of MLB time to reach 10 years to get MLB pension and would take anything offered.
Those are all four really good choices. Can I rank them instead of picking one?
Yeah, because it's probably a few different things played a role in it, right?
Yeah, I do think the catching depth is just horrifying, and so that's one of the reasons they brought him in. I think that's first and foremost. Could they be doing him a solid to get him to get him to his 10th year in pension? I could see them being human in that regard and doing that. I don't think that's out of the realm. The manager in waiting is interesting. Tucker Barnhart's very well liked here, and I think there'd be a honeymoon period just because of how well liked he is. But I would hope he's not another cookie cutter, go by the analytics. My pitcher can only pitch one inning, and even though he just got 3 outs and 8 pitches, I got to go to my next guy because that's what the book says. I'm just sick of David Bell and all these managers managing that way. I've had enough of it. And the last one is, I don't think Rhett Lauder is really a Nuke LaLoosh type. He doesn't. I know he kind of has the look like that, right? But he's actually got pretty good control and pretty good stuff. And he's actually had a really good stint here of late in Chattanooga. He struggled there for a while, but it seems like he's kind of figured some things out. So I would put that probably last on the list. But they're all legitimate. They're all legitimate points.
Luke Maley I don't think he has a contract past this year, right?
And I can't see them. I just can't see it.
Well, I was thinking they probably, because they don't really have much of a depth at catcher or a plan in place for catcher. I was thinking they would maybe re-sign him to a minimum deal.
Maybe
he's well liked. He's a veteran in the clubhouse, but I'm wondering, is this maybe writing on the wall that Tucker Barnhart is going to be that guy next year as kind of the veteran backup catcher to be the guy in the clubhouse instead of Luke?
So then Luke goes down to AAA maybe, and then he becomes the manager in waiting down there, right?
Maybe he's given a couple speeches this year already that got the ball club going, allegedly.
No, I don't know what Tucker's aspirations are. I mean, catchers make good managers usually, right? For whatever reason, maybe just because they're so involved in games. But boy, that's a big leap for a guy to have no experience. I know David Ross did that. I just don't know if that's what you would do. I don't.
I mean, not that David Ross was like a star, but there's a little bit of difference from being a guy who was on a World Series winning team that then takes over as manager to.
I'd argue Tucker Barnhart was a better overall player.
Yeah, Probably fair, but I don't know. I just do you think he would have that type of support and that type of
It's a great question. Again,
push behind him to be the manager?
Maybe this is the box you're thinking about of moving on from David Bell and putting a guy down there to learn from Pat Kelly, who's been a great AAA manager for them. And, I could argue, why wouldn't Pat Kelly get a shot up here if that's the case? But, maybe they like him in the developmental role he's in. He's done it for a long, long time, and they feel comfortable with him there. And again, he doesn't have probably as much cachet as a Tucker Barnhart, former player in the organization. But, that doesn't seem far-fetched, but I think of all the scenarios that were laid out there, the one that's the most likely to me is they just don't have a lot of depth and they need a body just in case something happens to Tyler Stevenson or Luke Maley down, and maybe bring up a third guy in September. And again, the other one to me is maybe they are doing him enough of a solid to get him that 10-year pension.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking for a landing spot too, right? I mean, it's not like there's a ton of people knocking down his door for his services either. So just kind of I mean, look, I'm on record as saying I could care less who is the manager of the Reds. I don't really think it makes that big of a difference. He's as good as any of the options I've heard thrown out there. If for some reason that is something they're thinking about, it wouldn't bother me in the slightest.
Give me Kevin Gray from Beechwood or Kurt Bly from Mason. I mean, honestly, these guys they'd
be just as good, if not better.
They would be.
Actually, Kevin Gray would be better than David Bell. I
think he would be too. I honestly think he would be, because I think Kevin would do some things with his gut. I mean, and it just feels like it's just so cookie cuttered anymore that, hey, I bring in this guy and he gets me 3 great outs and he looks good doing it, but by God, no reason to bring him out for the next inning because I got Fred warming up. Well, then Fred might suck that. I'm just so sick of the way the game is managed today. It's ridiculous. Can anybody do things not by the damn book? Because then what happens is when things go awry, well, I had my 8th inning guy ready. He just didn't have it today. Well, you know what? Your 7th inning guy sure as hell did. He could have pitched the 8th inning.
We could go on with the Red segment and talk about another week where Hunter Green was the man and Ellie De La Cruz did something where he's like one of only 4 players to ever do or whatever. But like at this point, Skinny, that's the show every week. We just basically say that. So we'll acknowledge that those two are awesome. It's really fun watching them, but I don't really have anything too interesting to add to the conversation about those two guys at this point anymore.
I don't either.
They've been a joy to watch this year.
I mean, some of the things that they've done this year have just been ridiculous. I mean, if there's a part of this year that Reds fans certainly should take away, it's the 2 guys who have been kind of the centerpiece of what you're trying to rebuild around and start with have grown up, and I still think they got more growing to do, and that's I think that would be super exciting.
You can always get local stories right here on YouTube, but go ahead and hit that subscribe button to get notifications to stay in the know.